Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq-100 Index, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed on Nasdaq. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large cap growth and also one of the best performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining us this Friday afternoon, we have Sarah Mehle, ESG Index Strategist with Nasdaq Global Indexes, to discuss Nasdaq-100 Volatility and Intraday Swings. Sarah, it's great to see you. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And really what we've been talking about, certainly in the last 2 months, is the velocity and the way that these moves are taking place in the Nasdaq-100. And not just that, but all the major averages. Let's take a look at your first chart here and tell us what you're looking at.
Hey, Jill. So looking here, I mean, volatility is a word that we've thrown around so much this year. It's the name of the game. So far this year, we have seen negative returns here from the Nasdaq-100, but over the last week, we are up about 43 bips. So one of those wild rides so far, but here we were able to go back in time. I think it's nice to get some perspective to volatility. And here volatility I'm defining as an intraday swing of 1% or more. So from a low to a close, a move of 1% or more. So looking back here just through 1993, this is looking at the percentage of days, of trading days within each year that saw these sort of swings. So if we were to stay on track right now, we would be, possibly meeting one of those higher than average years, so a more volatile year. And just in fact, out of 42 trading days so far this year, 22 of those, or 52%, have seen swings of greater than 1% or more. And in fact, last Thursday, we saw that move of nearly 7%, and that was the 34th highest on record going back in our particular study.
Yeah, it certainly has been a roller coaster ride, and we can see that in the next chart here, where you're showing the number of first quarter trading days with that intraday swing of at least 1%.
Yeah, so since we're still in Q1, and I said, we're up to 52%, that led me to think, okay, well, what have we seen in the past? So looking back, just again, isolating Q1, going back to the start of 93, on average, we've seen a relatively low number. I mean, back in 2017, we saw a daily swing of just one day, when back in 99, 2000, 2001, we saw 39. So right now we've seen 22, and something that really kind of blew my mind here, again, just looking at the data, is that if we were to end the quarter today, we would have seen just as many 1% intraday swings, or 1% or more intraday swings, the same as Q1 of 2020, which kind of fascinated me. So this just shows the elevated volatility here. It's just been pretty steady, and again, 52% of the days. So it's like I said, it's been a ride, and so we'll see where the rest of the 20 days of the quarter take us.
Well, that's a great point that you make, because 2019 and 2020, I mean, the market just went in one direction. There really wasn't much volatility at all to speak of until we hit the pandemic, which brings me to my next question for you. If we look at this from a longer term perspective, right, and we know that the trajectory for at least the past 12 years has been to the upside, what does the longer term trend suggest? Because if you look back over the past decade, it really looks like the pandemic lows were just a blip if you look at it longer term.
Right. So when we take a step back and we can look at the price movement of the Nasdaq-100 index in a very objective manner using a point and figure chart. So this chart that we have on the screen here, this goes back to the end of 2000. This is a very, very long-term chart, but this long-term trend line has been in place since February of 2012. So it's over 10 years old, just celebrated its 10th birthday, if you will. And actually almost 10 years to the day, we saw the trend line get a test here. So we saw the Nasdaq-100 index, the 150-point chart, fall down to that level around 13,200, where it tested that trend line. The next day, we saw a move high enough where it actually bounced off of the trend line. So that trend line held, which they tend to act like a brick wall. So that was a very substantial and a level of support that we'll continue to watch, because it did bounce off and it did hold. I mean, going back that long, it's just unbelievable. And then if you can also look, again, like you said, if you look at the 2008, the March of 2020, like those were just a blip. They didn't come close to that trend line. So we saw that successful test last week. Today, we did see the chart reverse back down into O's, but still in a positive trend. So the long-term outlook right now is is positive, remains in that above that bullish support line. But again, like I said, we're going to see where the rest of the 20 days of the quarter takes us.
All right, Sarah, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks. Cool.